Hey, sis. Hey. In this session, we are going to go through and set your budget goals and your budget strategies. I'm Coach Anita, Sistahbiz budget coach. I am a certified public accountant and certified financial planner. So, this is my space. I love this work around budgets and cost management. I am the founder of Powerful People Planned, a small consulting firm dedicated towards helping small business owners build and manage their monthly budgets. So I'm all about accountability, making sure you're doing the work, but also making sure that you're tracking the work. And I am so excited to hop in today. So we are going to be focused on the number two object in here. You should have already set your revenue numbers and your revenue strategies in a previous module of the work group. So today we're going to be focused on making sure you have your budget numbers and your budget strategies. So let's talk a little bit about why you need a budget. We want to make sure that you are paying yourself. Oftentimes, business owners work really hard, not just for the business, but personally. And without a budget or a plan for how you're going to spend your money, it's often easy to overlook your own needs. And you just really work into the ground without taking care of what you need for your personal lifestyle. We really don't want to do that. The second reason is we really want to make sure that you meet your profit margin goals. If you went through the revenue goals section, you may have seen that Coach K talked about in order to be successful in your business, we have to prioritize profit over revenue. So a budget and your spending plan will keep the expenses under control so you can actually reach that profit goal. We want to make sure that you're aligning your spending with the revenue goals and the growth initiatives that you set in the previous module. So if you have those very ambitious growth initiatives, you're going to need money to fund those things. And so creating a budget, figuring out how much money you have that you can put towards those initiatives is pretty important. And as you're kind of laying out that plan for the year of how much that you have excess to spend on your initiatives, your growth initiatives, and what your money is doing, you may realize that you need to raise your prices to earn more money or to raise money in order to support everything that you set out to do. It's really good for us to know that before you get into the year versus being mid-year and running out of money. We also want to make sure that you're not overspending. It's kind of the basis of a budget, right? Like you set your intentions and then you look and make sure that you're not overspending. But to do this, you really have to track along the way. You can't just set a beautiful budget and think that it's going to take root in itself. It's really important as we create this plan that you're tracking it on a monthly basis and you're adjusting it where it needs to be adjusted. And so the painful truth, y'all, is when you're small, high costs can just be frustrating for you. But like Biggie said, more money, more problems. As you grow, high costs, money management, these are the things that can really kill your business and have much bigger consequences. So let's get ahead of these growing pains, make sure we're setting habits, routines for smart budgeting now. So when you scale and you grow, it won't be an issue. So let's hop into this session. Today, we're going to be focusing on setting the foundation of your business budget. We will not be completing a full detailed budget in this session. We will not be going line from line, talking about what rolls up. We're going to be focused on big spending portions of your budget, like cost of goods sold, cost of acquiring a customer, the big chunks of your budget. And then you can take this information and you can give it to your accountant to develop an official full detailed budget, making sure that it aligns with your profit goals and your growth goals, right? So this work also will allow you, if you are looking for investor funding or if you have a board or stakeholders or even a team, this work is going to align you to be able to communicate your vision with those people to make sure everybody's on board, everybody's fully aligned with how money is going to be spent in your business for this year. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to calculate your budget total, and then during the work time, that's when you'll determine what your your budget total is, what your budget priorities are, as well as your two cost strategies. So by the end of the session, you'll have a clear roadmap to guide you with your budget conversations, as well as your decisions in the business moving forward. So first up, how do we set budget goals? In the previous module, you were introduced to Jasmine, the CEO of Elite Fitness. Let's continue Jasmine's story as we help her break down her expenses and plan for her budget. So Jasmine's revenue goal was $120,000, and she set a profit margin of 40%, or she said she wanted to keep $48,000 in her pocket to be her take home. Now, this tells us that her budget total is $72,000. So this is the money that will go towards all of her expenses like cost of goods sold, her marketing, her overhead, those types of things. And so just the basic math, if you have $120,000 coming into the business, you say you want to keep $48,000 of it. The difference between that, which is $72,000, that is your budget total. That's what you can spend on all of your expenses. So let's calculate some of those big chunks of pie. I like to think of them as sweet potato pie myself because, the budget, the complete budget total is your whole sweet potato pie. And then these chunks that we're going to talk about today are slices of pie. And so let's just say full pie total, $72,000. The different slices we want to focus on: cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold is the cost that it takes for you to produce your goods and services. For Jasmine, this looks like hiring trainers to do her group session, producing merchandise, creating any of her digital products. This would all fall into cost of goods sold. If you don't have cost of goods sold, then there's no product or no service to sell. So think about it like that. If it directly ties to your product or service that you're selling, it's probably a cost of goods sold. The second slice is marketing, or cost to acquire a customer. Your cost to acquire a customer are things like ads, email campaigns, referral bonuses. You need the cost to acquire a customer, basically to grow your business. If you don't have these marketing costs, you won't be able to attract new clients to the business. The third one is labor. So think about labor. I'm sure you know what it is, but the cost of the people in your business. But I really want to point out that this labor is not the labor required for you to produce your product or your service. So for Jasmine, this would not be the cost of her trainers that do her group sessions. That belongs in the cost of goods sold. This labor is the general labor to run the business. So think her front desk staff, her accountant, maybe even her. If she's not in that room doing fitness classes, but she's getting paid from the business, this could potentially be in labor. It just kind of depends on how you set up your business. But if it is directly related to the cost to produce the service or the product, it does not go in labor. It goes into cost of goods sold. And then lastly is the overhead. So these are your general expenses for the business. Think her costs of rent for the building could potentially be an overhead. Her subscriptions. A lot of us have a ton of subscriptions for things like Canva or MailChimp, things like that. Zoom, they'll go in overhead because they're general costs to keep the business running. They don't directly, they may indirectly, but they don't directly tie to her cost for producing the goods or the service. So let's say Jasmine decides that 60% of her budget total is going to be cost of goods sold. That's about $43,200. It's very important, right? You got to spend the money to produce the thing that you're selling. So it's not unheard of for your cost of goods sold to be pretty hefty of your total cost. She decides 16% of that is her cost to acquire a customer, or you may hear this as CAC, or you may hear this as customer acquisition costs. All of these mean the same thing. She decides that that's 16% of her budget total, $11,520, and then this leaves the remaining 44% of her budget total for labor and overhead and anything else she needs. That's $17,280. So we've determined what the budget total was. Let's talk about strategies that you can deploy to make sure that you have enough money for each of the areas that you need it for. So these next 4 budget strategies are all about cost savings and making sure you have money to do the things you need to in your business, whether running your business or growth initiatives that you outlined in the revenue, or even your profit margins, right? Maybe you want to pay yourself more. We have to find the money. And so these 4 strategies are going to help you find the money. So the first one is reducing marketing expenses. So the reality is marketing expenses can add up very quickly. And so this is the idea of cutting back on any of your low impact channels without sacrificing your results, right? So think about, where are you placing your marketing dollars? Are you getting a return on that investment? And for the ones that you are not getting the return on investment, so you're not getting traffic or you're not getting conversions, we just say we're no longer investing in those channels. And so one of those tactics actually is for you to prioritize some of the more cost efficient or less costly channels like organic digital marketing. There's a ton of tactics that you can deploy for this strategy, but one that we've seen to lower the cost is all about focusing on that digital marketing. This works best when you actually have marketing costs and they're high, but you're not getting results. So if you're spending marketing dollars, but you're getting results, then this may not be the channel for you, or it may not be the strategy for you. It may not be the strategy for you if you're not spending a lot of marketing dollars, or you've cut it already as low as it can go, or if you are the type of business where posting every day or investing in those marketing costs, you have to have the flyers, you have to send the marketing materials. That's the type of things that are required of your business. You have to be out there. Brand visibility is important, or you have to focus on it. You might not want to reduce these types of expenses there. Several metrics you can choose from that you have to do your research on and decide which one is best for you. Some examples for that: focusing on your conversion rates of these channels, focusing on the costs that you're spending on these channels as well. So let's give an example of how this can really give you a significant amount of cash back into the business if you focus on this strategy. So let's say we're spending $1,500 every month on paid ads to acquire 10 clients. That means, simple math, $1,500 that we're spending on our paid ads divided by the number of clients we get from those paid ads, which is 10, that gives us $150 per client. That's pretty expensive. Before I talk about the steps, I really want to make sure that it's super clear that when you're deploying these strategies, whether they are budget strategies or even revenue strategies, there's levels to this thing. I would love to tell you that do this one thing and it's going to drive your cost to acquire a customer way down, or it's going to drive your overhead way down. Most of the time when you are talking about cost savings and finding money, you have to do it in steps and levels. So deploy this tactic, you get a little bit of lemon juice. Deploy this tactic, you get a little bit more lemon juice. And then adding up all those little lemon juices gives you a lemonade, lots of lemonade, right? And so don't be weary if when you're working on this strategy, there's several tactics that you have to deploy to get you where you want to get. So this example is no different. Let's say the first thing we do is say, okay, we're going to really establish a referral program. We're going to capitalize on our current clients who love us, and we're going to set up something a little bit more formal. Say through over time, this referral program is able to bring us in 3 clients per month. The second thing we do is say, hey, we're going to go a little bit more organic. These are the lower cost marketing efforts. We say we're going to focus on blogs. We're really going to tighten up our search engine optimization, or SEO words that we have in those blogs, so that people can find us by Googling or using those search engines. And we're able to bring in 2 clients per month using that strategy. So using both of those, we're able to bring in 5 of those clients that we need each month just from these low cost efforts that we deployed. Now we only need to bring in 5 additional clients to get our total of 10. So this chops our ad spend in half, y'all. Instead of spending $1,500 per month on ads to get 10 clients, we're now spending only $750 per month to get those same 10 clients. Now we're saving $9,000 per year. That is a hefty amount that could go back toward your growth initiatives that you set out in the first module. This also allows us to cut our cost of acquiring a customer. So in order to get 10 clients, now instead of spending $150 per client, we're only spending $75 per client. Wow, amazing. So let's move on to our second strategy and our second slice of pie that we're going to look at. It's our cost of goods sold. So as a reminder, your cost of goods sold is any of your direct costs that you spend to produce your goods or your services. And so reducing your cost of goods sold, this strategy is about looking at how much it costs to produce and deliver and reducing that. I know it sounds simple. It is, y'all. It don't got to be that complicated. But making sure you understand what that number is and focusing on reducing it. And so some tactics could include, if you have suppliers, you can negotiate with your suppliers a lower amount. You could also focus on becoming more efficient. So if your creation process, there's opportunities for you to reduce waste, that could be another tactic that you deploy. This strategy works for businesses that have expensive cost of goods sold. If you have very minimum cost of goods sold, maybe you're a service-based business and it's just you, and so the cost of goods sold is very minimum, this may not be the strategy for you. But if you do have high cost of goods sold, or if you feel like there's areas for you to get more efficient in your process of producing the good or service, this could be a tactic that you deploy. It doesn't work when your supplier costs are fixed. So say your programs that you're using to produce your service are what they are. You can't negotiate with, Zoom or whatever your programs that you're using. If it's already fixed, this may not be an approach. The other thing I want to make sure that you're super clear on is we don't want to compromise quality to save costs. So if you say, hey, made in the USA, don't outsource to China to get a lower cost because that's your focus. Quality is a big thing, so don't compromise that trying to cut on cost. key metrics for you to consider as an option: gross margin. We want to make sure that we're documenting savings, how much you're saving from cutting back on your cost of goods sold. We want to be intentional about tracking that as well as an option. So let's give an example of what focusing on lowering your cost of goods sold can do for your business. So say we sell plates. We sell soul food plates, because what other types of plates are there to sell? I'm just joking. There are other types of plates to sell. But let's just say we sell soul food plates and we charge $10 per plate, but it costs us $6 per plate to produce. That's 60% of revenue. That's pretty high. And again, multiple steps. We say we're going to get this down. We can't, that's way too expensive. Let's see what we can do to get this down. So say we buy green bell peppers for our plates, and we go to our vendor and we say, hey, we want to buy more green bell peppers at one time, and we negotiate a bulk rate. So because we're buying more, they'll give us a discount on the per item bell pepper price, which is great. We're able to reduce our cost by 10%, and we lower our cost of goods sold to $5.40 per plate. Let's say we also watch a YouTube video and we realize that after we chop the bell peppers up, if we cover them with both aluminum foil and saran wrap, then they will not last one day like they've been lasting right now. They'll last 4 days. So now we've streamlined our prep process and we reduced our waste of bell peppers, and we're able to save 30 cents per plate with this process improvement. Great. And then let's just say we take a look at our menu and say, okay, what's selling? What's not selling? What do people want? What don't they want? And we see that nobody buys our banana pudding, and we're only buying bananas for the banana pudding. We say we're no longer going to offer banana pudding, and we're able to save 30 cents per plate just by no longer buying bananas and cutting that item on our menu. We add all of that up, and we're able to bring our cost of producing our soul food plate down to $5. We got to save $1. You're like, oh, it's only $1, but it's $1 per plate, which saves us $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year. Again, a significant amount. So let's talk about our third out of our 4 strategies, reducing our overhead costs. This is the idea that we will cut some of our fixed expenses to free up some dollars. If you don't know which of these strategies to start with, this one is the one to start with. This is the easiest of the 4, in my opinion, to get started with. Don't neglect the other ones, but to start, this is a very good one. There's several things that you can do to support this tactic. I like to start with my clients on focusing on what the subscriptions are that they committed to, both annual and monthly, and see if there's other things that we can do, whether it's choosing a different service or combining them, or just a lot of different things, right? Other tactics that you can use if you are in a location: can you negotiate the lease when your lease is up for a lower rate? Are there things you can do to reduce utilities? If you leave the lights on all night long, can you make sure they get cut off when you leave? Things like that. So many tactics for you to deploy here. This is best when you have high fixed costs, right? Or you need to find some money quick and you need that flexibility in your budget. You need dollars. So going and deploying this strategy will be best for you. It's not ideal if you are already super lean. You know your expenses. You've already done this exercise. You cut them as low as you can go. So you're already running lean. Then this may not be the best strategy for you to deploy. Here are some metrics that you can consider choosing to track to make sure that you're getting your most bang for your buck in this strategy, including tracking to see how much you're saving. What we don't want to happen is you deploy this strategy, you save $1,000 a month, but you have no idea where that $1,000 a month went, right? We don't want that. So make sure that you're tracking your savings and being super intentional about where they're going in the business when you do save that money. And the last strategy is reducing your labor costs. For people, especially people with teams, this is the high cost item people. And so this strategy is about lowering your staffing or shifting to more cost efficient solutions. So I normally give the example that when I did this and focused on reducing my labor costs, I moved over some tasks to AI to help with some of those tasks, which helped me move my assistant from full time to part time, right? So we got a lot more efficient in how we produce things, how we use tools to produce things, which allow less man hours of my assistant so she could work part time versus full time. So thinking through what can be automated for your business, thinking about, do you need a employee to do that, or can you outsource it to a contractor? Those things matter when we're talking about labor costs. This is best when you have significant labor costs. You cannot be a solopreneur and it's just you talking about, I'm gonna reduce my labor costs. Nah, sis, you are the labor costs. You cannot reduce the labor costs. So think through that. If you think some things can be automated, this is the time, this is the strategy to deploy. This doesn't work for you when whatever you produce or whatever you sell has to be produced in-house. If that is your differentiator of your business, this strategy may not be the best for you. Key metrics, here's some key metrics for you to consider. If you're selecting this strategy, make sure you do your research on these and deciding which one is best for the tactics that you are going to deploy to help you reduce your labor costs. And so just to recap here, the four budget strategies for you to select from: reducing marketing expenses, reducing cost of goods sold, reducing overhead, and reducing labor. One thing I do want to say here is that you can deploy a budget strategy, and instead of it being reduction, it can be maintenance of it, keeping it at a certain level, right? Because maybe you have a business and your cost of goods sold is right where you need it to be to get your margins and your take-home pay exactly where you need it to be, but you need to keep an eye on it, right? You got to make sure it doesn't go up significantly. So maybe the budget strategy you choose is reduce/maintain your cost of goods sold. So you do the same thing in terms of making sure that you have tactics and tactics for you to keep an eye on tracking your cost of goods sold. But the idea is that you're going to maintain what you have and make sure that that expense doesn't creep on you, right? So it could be reduction, it could be maintenance, but the idea is that you're going to be focused on these big slices of the pie over the next year as you're selecting these strategies. And so the last thing I want to say before I give you back your time for you to select your strategies and your budget totals is that, real talk, budgeting can be triggering for some of us. And when times get hard, a budget won't solve every financial problem, but it does give you the power to make decisions without being reactive under pressure. When you have challenges, a budget helps you make intentional cuts instead of you just like, I'm gonna cut this, you fire, right? And the reality is that when times get tough, a lot of things can come up. I've seen it for my clients. A lot of things come to surface when we start talking about money and managing money and things related to money. And money trauma is real. And oftentimes we see it come up in our business. For historically marginalized and oppressed communities like us, our past financial experiences, heck, our present day injustice, it can really shape how we manage our money and how we relate to money. So I just really want to encourage you to be patient with yourself as you work through your habits, your beliefs, your anxieties about money. I want to encourage you to educate yourself on money trauma, and just don't hesitate to seek help, whether it's from a financial coach, a therapist, your community. Addressing these blocks will help you move toward financial freedom and resilience, and that's what we really want. So as you work on this, I really want you to remember that you're not alone. There are coaches in the platform here to support you. There are sisters in the Sistahbiz community. We're going to be holding space for you, and we're going to be holding space really for each other. So if this brings up feelings or challenges, just know it's okay to pause, take some time, reflect, talk, and share. This is a space where we all will show up for one another, be patient and understanding as we navigate these super important issues. All right, time to get to work. Don't hesitate to reach out, join a study hall, reach out in the chat, the chat board. If you have questions, if you need support, we are here to support you. Happy work time. Talk to you soon.